It may not be the McRib, but nonetheless, it's back. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
So we cannot stop talking about the meatloaf burger at the Blitzen's Brew House.
Now,
We're gonna
Ryan,
do a whole episode.
you said it's not the McRib. It's better. I think it's better than the McRib. Far better.
Oh yeah, I'm not a big fan of the McRib. This is something that I actually look forward to. But yeah, gosh, it's such a good, and the best part of this whole thing, let's just say it off the bat, included on the dining plan.
That's right. And I think that, for a lot of guests, they have the dining plan, so there's no reason not to try it. But it's that signature menu item during Winterfest. So it's only there for that limited time. You can't get it in the spring, can't get it in the summer, can't get it in the fall. You can only get it during Winterfest. So that drives up the demand for it. But if you're there, you got to go to Blitzen's Brew House. You got to get the meatloaf burger. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
I don't know of anybody that's been disappointed. So this meatloaf is crafted in-house with a blend of spices topped with creamy Munster cheese, sweet tomato sauce, crispy bacon, and a hint of crunch from shaved red onions, all served on a perfectly toasted bun. Now, that is way outside of Don's palate, but
It
you like
is.
it.
I do. I love it. And don't forget, it comes with a side of tater tots.
Barrels, as they call them.
Barrels, yes. But no, it's it's that one thing that when you're going to Winterfest, you know, I would put it on my things I can't miss. If there's 4 or 5 things, this is going to be on that list that you can't miss it. And I can't recommend it, highly enough. That I think there's a lot of great food at Winterfest, but this is memorable. It's something that when you drive home, after experiencing Winterfest, while you're talking about how spectacular the lights looked, how much you enjoyed the shows, maybe riding the racer, at Winterfest for the first time, uh, the meatloaf burger is going to be as memorable as those other experiences are for you at Winterfest.
Yeah, and the thing that always comes to mind for me is that a lot of parks for their seasonal events have that big signature thing. I mean, I would argue that for Kings Island in the summertime, it's the blue ice cream. Universal for Halloween Horror Nights, they have pizza fries. So it's fries with pizza sauce, cheese, and pepperoni on the top. This is quickly becoming the Kings Island Winterfest food item that you have to try.
Yeah, I remember when it debuted. I remember you telling me how good it was. So I had to go try it myself, and I was blown away. Like you said, there's a lot of things in this that's not exactly in my food group, things that I typically would eat, but it all blends together so well. And uh, I think it's to me it wouldn't be Winterfest without being able to have the holiday meatloaf burger.
Yeah. So again, it's there for a limited time. So with your next visit, make sure you stop by Blitzen's Brew House, which for the rest of the year is just the Rivertown Brew House. I don't
Yeah,
like
and
how they
again,
changed the
it
name of
is
these things.
on the dining plan.
Yeah, we cannot emphasize that more. It is on the dining plan. But yeah, it's absolutely delicious. Highly recommended. Take a break from the pub burger to end the year. Get the meatloaf burger every visit.
Yeah, and it's just one of many different special items that they have on the different menus around the park during the Winterfest event. So there's a lot that you really want to try. But if you can only do one thing, it's the meatloaf burger.
Yeah, that made our top 5 things to do at Winterfest episode that came out a couple weeks ago as of the broadcast of this message. But Don, do you have any final thoughts about the meatloaf burger?
Well, for me, it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to when I visit Kings Island for Winterfest for the first time this year. I'm certainly gonna, stick around International Street. I want to see the tree lighting ceremony, and then from there, I'm gonna book it right to Blitzen's Brew House and get the meatloaf burger.
Excellent. Don, let's move on. Let's talk about
Mm.
Tower Topics t-shirts.
Tower Topics t-shirts, even though it's the cold season is now upon us. You want a Tower Topics t-shirt. Wear it around the house at this time of the year. It's gonna be great for you to have next summer during those visits to Kings Island. It comes in a Carolina blue, any size that you would need. That we can get this for you. It's just $22. That includes the shipping. If you're interested in a Tower Topics t-shirt, simply send us a direct message on our X, which is Tower_Topics. We certainly hope that you follow us there. If you don't have X, the next best thing then would just be to send me an email, donhelbig@themeparksbydon.com. Put in the subject line, Tower Topics t-shirt. We'll send you that QR code. And once the transaction goes through, again, just $22, includes shipping. The shirt only takes a matter of days to get to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. $22 includes shipping. Love to see those around the holidays. We'll be right back with your stories. All right. Today's story comes from Chris M. from Canal, Winchester, Ohio. It says, I've been going to Kings Island since 1990. When I started my content creating, my goal was to get close with my home park. And that's when I met Don. I have I have to give a huge shout out to Brian Lamb for really introducing me, even though I met Don then. I We had an awesome conversation about the park. I had to credit Don for one of my best experiences of my life, and that would have been Coaster Stock 2022. It seems like that keeps on coming up as the best year for Coaster Stocks 2022. I think those 2 days were the best I've had as a coaster nerd and a KI fan. I met some awesome people and made some lifelong friends. So, really, the moral of the story is that I appreciate Don for all he did at KI. The park really needs someone like him. Thank you again, Don. See you at the Racer for a ride real soon. And you can ride the Racer now that it's open for Winterfest.
You can, and you're right. Coaster Stock 2022 comes up a lot as one of their favorite years for it. 2023 was also, very well. Every year for Coaster Stock was pretty well received, but I think 2022, 2021, after not having it in 2020 because of COVID, it was done later in the year, so it was back to that springtime event. So maybe that's why it comes up so much. But appreciate the kind words there, Chris, about the opportunity that you had through Brian Lamb to meet me, and those conversations we had about the park. I enjoy talking about Kings Island. I talk about it, just wherever I am, and people recognize me from Kings Island or it comes up in conversation. I've always enjoyed talking about the park. It's a true passion. So anytime that anyone wants to strike up a conversation with me about Kings Island, I'm game. I'll talk about it.
And that he will. All right. But if you want to submit your stories, Don, tell them where to send them.
Well, you can go to my email at donhelbig@themeparksbydon.com, put in the subject line story for TT, and share your story. These can be anything that is memorable to you or means something to you about Kings Island. It can be was your first job, your first roller coaster ride. You remember doing some kind of a special behind the scenes tour, maybe like the Beast, experience Coaster Stock. You met your spouse there, whatever it might be. We'd love to hear your Kings Island story, and we'd love to share your Kings Island story with our Kings Island audience.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone who's sending their stories so far. Hey, Don, let's take a moment to thank the YouTube members. So shout out to some of our prestige members out there. Jacob Fix, Miss Mandy, 1983, Lil Mac 21, Brian Hauser, Logan Lipper, 330T, and Aaron Bort. Thank you for supporting Tower Topics at the highest tier. That's the Prestige Pass tier. If you want to become involved with Tower Topics, there's a link in the description to become a YouTube member. Members get early access to videos, exclusive content, exclusive live streams, and some tiers even get some free stuff. So hit that link in the comments if you're interested. And thank you, everybody, for supporting the show.
And who doesn't like free, right?
Who does not like free? We'll be right back with the listener questions. All right. First listener question from Barry M. from Elira, Ohio. Hope I'm saying that right. Elira. I truly love the podcast. The genuine, unfiltered conversations are such a refreshing change of pace. As a Kings Island fan, I really value this, and there's no sugarcoating, no attempts to blow smoke. That said, I can't help but ask, are you concerned about potential retribution? It's no secret Kings Island isn't thrilled with this podcast, and it seems like they might be looking for ways to retaliate. Do you feel prepared for that possibly? Your honesty is what makes this podcast great, but it also seems like you get put in a tricky position. Interesting.
Um, we don't concern ourselves with what the park might think about our podcast.
Mhm.
I think that's what makes it what it is that, we're unaffiliated. We're not partnered with them. We're not part of that content creator program where you have to kind of be, kind of a shill for the park and everything is put on a pedestal or else you're off the media list. So I think that's one of the things that separates us from maybe another type of podcast that somebody might do about Kings Island, a blog they might do about Kings Island, what they do on their YouTube channels about Kings Island,
Mhm.
anything like that, because being on that media list is everything to them. We don't care about stuff like that. We feel that we are for the Kings Island fans. That's where our loyalty is. That's why we do this podcast, for Kings Island fans. We do not do it for the park. And that's why it's easy to say we don't really, care if they don't like us, because it's not for them. It's for Kings Island fans. Always has been, always will be, for the Kings Island fans. Now, in terms of retribution, I don't know what they can do. I mean, they can't control the podcast, at all. And I think that might be one of the problems is that they have no control over it. I think the other problem is they don't like the two hosts that do this show. That's the other problem. If two other people were doing this, they'd probably be okay with it. But because of the personalities on this podcast, they don't like that. But in terms of retribution, not really a whole lot that they can do other than just continuing to not like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where they could have worked with us. They kind of acted like they wanted to, then they didn't, and now it's kind of like now we don't want to. It's one of those things, especially after the content creator policy. To me, that's kind of what put me over as far as let's just keep on doing what we're doing. Because I don't want to ever be in a situation where somebody from the park uh, attempts to dictate to us that if we say that something was bad at Kings Island or something was unfair or something's not done the right way or whatever, that they can hold anything above our head. As you mentioned, not super interested in media day. Honestly, like even if we had a relationship with the park, I would probably rarely go to a media day because I don't really like to get up at 4 in the morning. But
Yeah. Well, you can't have credibility with your audience
yeah.
if you're catering to what the messaging that the park wants you to say. You have to be true. You have to be authentic. You have to be genuine. And that's what we are. And that's how we're going to do it. And that kind of style, genuine, authentic, tell it like it is, matter of fact, that kind of style, when you're doing a show about a certain brand, that's not always going to go over well. Because they want everything to be put on that pedestal. They want everything to be highly positive. And we try to be, when something is good, we say it. For us, getting back to that word retribution, I really don't know, just because they don't like it, they can't really do much about it. I mean, I would hope that sometimes, Ryan, some of the things that, you and I might call out, that I would hope that the park would see it as an opportunity to, take a look at that objectively
Hmm.
and try to find a way to make what they're doing better, or maybe use it as a learning experience. Or if the part, or, if Tower Topics is hearing enough about this kind of thing, this is what Tower Topics is seeing and they're bringing it up, let's take a look at that. And I think that's what, if I was in their position, I would look at a podcast like this and try to use it as a way for how we can get better at what we're doing. If there is what they see as negativity about it, why are they negative about it? What can we do to make that particular thing better for our guest? That's what I would do.
Yeah, and we promised ourselves, and I think we've kept it pretty well. Of like, this is not a shill podcast, but it's also not a like, kind of like inside the magic at Disney. Like
No,
the people call them
no.
inside the tragic because everything they do is negative.
No, we
And
don't wanna be, like we just wanna be genuine and authentic, and sometimes that comes across. If you are, a big Kings Island fan, there might be some things that you take offense to, or, it's not what we're about, not what we're trying to do. It's just we owe it to the audience to be, straightforward with it, matter of fact with it, not sugarcoat anything. And that sometimes, gets looked at the wrong way, whether it's by the park or whether it's by, these staunch, Kings Island supporters. And we understand that it comes with the territory. Not everybody's going to like what we say. And, I think if everyone was in 100% agreement with us all the time, Ryan, I don't think this podcast would be as successful as it has become, because it has to be something that you want people to talk about what you're talking about. We want people to have different opinions. There's things that we think are really good that we've talked about, and you and I hear back, through the comments and that, or through messaging to us, that you guys are out of your mind, you're off your rocker. That wasn't very good.
right,
Haunt comes to mind, where we were talking about Haunt being really good. And, some people thought we were off our rocker, like, what are you guys talking about? How can you say that, that kind of stuff? So it goes both ways. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're really positive about that some of our listeners, think that, we're off base. And there's things that we might say that don't come off as the most positive things. And people are like, why are you picking on the park? So I don't know. We can't worry about it though. We just got to be ourselves.
yeah. I mean, it's again, they're usually the people that like attack us, so bully us, shall we say, in the comments are either hardcore Kings Island fan, and honestly, I probably would have been the same way like 15 years ago. Where like if there was a podcast by Kings Island and they were negative about something, I would have been the first person to defend them in the comments. Uh, but that, or maybe somebody that's in from the park that's involved. For example, like if we said that a show wasn't very good, maybe it's a performer or a lighting technician or somebody like that, or um, like if we say that the food service is slow, maybe it's somebody from food service that takes that a little personally, which uh, I'm kind of torn on because on one hand, that's not a way to get better, but on the other hand, it shows a care.
Yeah,
So,
they do. Ryan, I mean, it's one of those things too that, as a journalist, even though we both have different ties to Kings Island in different ways, um, when you go into this kind of a role, you have to separate yourselves, and you have to be objective, and you
mhm,
have to see it through different eyes, and you have to see it a different way than you would if you were just on the fan side, or you were just on working at the park side. You kind of have to put yourself in the middle, and everything that you do in preparation for this podcast, you have to do it with an objective, point of view. And that's how we have to share it as a Kings Island fan with Kings Island fans, is from that objective, point of view. And we do hear from a lot of our listeners that they appreciate how candid we are, and that it's a fresh approach, for them, as this question says. And we've also heard from a number of people that work at Kings Island. They get paid by Kings Island, that enjoy our podcast. They appreciate what we say. And they said, we wish we could stand up and say that ourselves, but we can't,
right.
because of the position we're in. So, we do have people on the inside that also value and appreciate, what we're doing here, Ryan.
Yeah, and we value and appreciate what they do too. And when it comes down to like a lot of these things, it sometimes it's going to come off as disrespect, but it's not. I mean, we love the park, and it's if we're not happy with something, it's because we want it to be better. We want the park to be better, and if somebody on the inside doesn't want to hear that, that's a kind of a difficult thing to communicate out. It's hard to find common ground when the end goal isn't necessarily that things get better, it's who's right. So if we're not happy with uh, a restaurant experience, a show, a ride, or something like that, when the point of it is you're wrong and I'm right, rather than why do you feel that way, and why do you feel that way, then, there's nothing comes of it.
No, I
You
mean,
know?
so many people at Kings Island that I just have, great respect for. Worked with them for many years, saw how hard they worked, how much they love the park, how they, just everything they put into it, just some really, really good people, excuse me, that work there and just have, such a high level of respect for. And, that's, it's just an amazing group of talented individuals. And, they do a great job. But there are some things, with in terms of, you know, how some things are done, how some decisions are made in that it does warrant you and I having some of these what we'll call hard decisions sometimes. And you look at like Chris Collinsworth, former Cincinnati Bengal, fan favorite,
Mhm.
but he goes into broadcasting. Now his job is to, if he's doing a Bengals game, is not to be a Bengals fan. He has to do it objectively. He loves the Bengals.
Right.
I know Chris Collinsworth loves the Bengals. He wants the Bengals to succeed. He'd love nothing more than for them to win a Super Bowl. But Chris goes on the air, he has to call it like he sees it, and he does. And there are Bengal fans that go after him because Chris Collinsworth is so negative about the Bengals. No, Chris Collinsworth is being objective about the Bengals. He's sharing his insights, his opinion, and that's what we try to do here on Tower Topics is just share our opinions and just call it as we see it. Appreciate the
Amen.
question.
Yeah. All right, next listener question is from Lisa E. from Middletown, Ohio. She said, "Any word on New Year's Eve in the International Restaurant? I haven't been able to find any information about it on the Kings Island website or app."
Neither can we.
Yeah, you're not alone, Lisa. I hope they do it.
Well, you had me, interested in doing that, Ryan, when you talked about how much fun you had, and you said, you suggested that I join you this year, and I was
Right.
looking, to do that, and I don't see any information about it on the website or app either. It's December now, so you maybe by the time this episode drops, there's information out there about it. But typically, the information, was at least out there. Maybe not tickets on sale yet, but there was still information to try to get, guests to plan and say, this is an experience you want to do. Stay tuned. Tickets going on sale soon. But we have not seen that.
Yeah, very curious. I wonder what it'll look like this year. All right. Well, thanks for the question, Lisa. Hey, I'm Ryan Sirlong with On Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.